Welcome back, Exiles, to part 3 of my Kinetic Blast of Clustering 0 to Hero. This is Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming. If you'd like to see the first two parts, I'll link those in the description below. Last time I got my first two Void Stones, and this will open up the endgame with altar farming and approaching my third Atlas skill tree to start farming a variety of strats that I'll need going forward. But first, I have to work on completing my Atlas. I'm using Blight and Expedition on my tree in lower maps that I haven't completed yet. I get a ton of essences from a random Blight chest that reopens several times, which is going to be very helpful. I'll be farming plenty of essences, but this will give me a head start. I find another Kineticist after throwing my previous one away, and I'll slowly replace them with the higher level ones as I get them. There may end up being a better Merc for this build, but for quality of life, Kineticist seems to be the best at the moment. I'm also using my Kinetic missions to help fill out everything. This gets me all of my white and yellow maps completed pretty easily and picks me up a couple of unique maps for completion on the way. Now that I'm stacking more mana, my DPS is improving pretty rapidly. I find another Divine Orb from a Merc in Tropical Island, and also at some point around here replace my Anoint on my Amulet with Forethought for a massive 30% mana. I find a really nice Kinetic Bolt Kineticist in Waste Pool with great supports and most of the good utility skills. In a random Delirium and Silo, I get a bunch of Screaming Essences as well. I can't wait to farm Delirium at some point properly, but I have other priorities at the moment. Another nice thing about Kinetic missions is that they drop the Divination card Ever Changing, which gives 10 Orbs of Unmaking. I'll need to switch strategies several times to get everything that I need, so this is going to be a fast way to set up all the trees that I'll need. My mana total is starting to become pretty respectable, but I still got a long way to go on that. Now I'm back in red maps after cleaning up some of the lower ones, and my damage is feeling a lot better than when I was pushing for my Void Stones the first time. I get a lucky few drops in Dungeon. I've added Harbinger, which pays off with a full Exalt, and later on I even get 3 Fracturing Shards from a Harbinger, which is really exciting. I can't wait to self-farm some Fracturing Orbs. I find a corrupted 5-link, so I decided to do some Beyond in order to get Tainted Fusings. This is going to be one of the methods I'm going to try to use to get a 6-link, along with possibly Legion for Geomancer's Incubators, which is a good option as well. There's also Divination cards that can get you a 6-link pretty easily. Although for some reason I can't really comprehend, my dumb sleep-deprived brain starts to go for Breach instead. Yeah, Breach is going to be good for experience and all, but it isn't really going to help me with any of my gearing goals. Also, Breach mobs don't leave behind corpses, I believe, so it doesn't really work in synergy with Beyond, but I build a Beyond Breach tree anyway, which seems like a waste. So I end up wasting a lot of time mapping on what is a pretty pointless strategy, but eventually I do get back on track using the Orbs of Unmaking I get through those Kinetic Mission Divination cards, along with a little altar farming. I actually end up finding a Doriani's Machinarium in Kinetic missions. That's a very rare map. You normally get it from Delve bosses, although it can occasionally show up in Kinetic missions. I don't think I've done this map a lot, so it was a really interesting experience, and I get a cool pair of boots out of it too. To keep the good luck going, I get a Seer in the tower, which allows me to scry the Doctor card onto another map. Then as a bonus, I actually get an Arakali's Fang from the shop, a very super rare find, and honestly the rarest thing I've found so far, I believe, probably even more so than the Enhance and the Enlighten. It's not really useful for this character, but I could either use it on a future character or it could give me a huge quantity of dust for recombinating. I get my map completion nearing full, but I'm really squishy at this point. I end up dying way more than I'm used to, and I start to consider my options. In the end, I make a few changes that dramatically improve the feeling of the character. I decide to spec out of Mastermind of Discord and Heart of Destruction and go back into Shaper of Flames and Shaper of Winter. This means I'm no longer going to be looking to apply exposure, so I drop my Ellie Weakness Curse, swap it out for Assassin's Mark, and I swap the Exposure Elemental Mastery for the Elemental Inversion one. I also dropped the increased critical damage support for lightning penetration, since all of my damage is lightning at this point anyway. The combination of these changes mean I only lose a little bit of damage while gaining a huge amount of survivability, which ends up working out much better. I stop dying pretty much entirely and start gaining experience at a good pace again. Most of my deaths were to physical damage, so converting the 40% of my enemies physical to fire, and also getting the 20% less damage taken from the chill, along with the 40% less action speed, makes most enemies go from hitting me like a truck to hitting me like a wet pool noodle. I start clearing harder and harder content, becoming much more confident in this character, really feeling the hero progress now. The clear was always pretty great, but it's no longer dying, and even the single target seems to be improving with more penetration and the inversion mastery, which is not only nice in bosses, but it really helps with certain rare affixes, like the shock and lightning resistant ones. And finally, just as I get down to the last 4 Atlas points, all unique maps of course, I get my actual 6th link. It just drops corrupted from a strongbox. I was just trying to do some really quick tier 11 cemetery maps to get some Kinetic missions so I could get those last few unique maps, and out it pops on the second open of a box. I finally take off the tabula I found in Act 2 and put on something proper, or at least something approaching proper. I'm likely to replace it soon, but I'm still really happy to have this one. I've made huge strides and feel ready to properly take on the last 2 Void Stones and then move on to tier 17s and possibly even Ubers. I'll have a lot of crafting to do the next time to get the kind of gear that I'm going to need for that content, but I do have some plans to make it happen. So if you want to make sure and see when the next episode comes out, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to receive a notification. And if you've made it this far into the end and want to help support my content creation, consider becoming a channel member. Any membership money will go towards a new graphics card or possibly a new PC, so my game doesn't look like it's straight out of the early 2000s. Since I've mostly been doing just maps, I wanted to do a quick character status and gear overview. So I will go over everything here. This is my helmet, very high life, good resistances, some crafted mana plus health regen and intelligence, currently with mana regen and damage per power charge. Those will probably change. For my amulet, I am currently wearing this life double resist damage attributes amulet. However, I do have an amulet with a good amount of mana that I'm currently saving up to put forethought onto, so that I can continue to grow my mana pool, which is currently just under 4,000. First ring, I actually Exalt Slammed the 99 life. It is double elemental resist, a total of 70, 21 chaos resist plus the implicit lightning damage, and crafted mana, and then slammed life. Very, very strong, probably my strongest piece of gear overall, and it's currently incubating a 6 link armor, so hopefully that turns out well. Another ring. Got some physical damage and resists on an amethyst ring. This will be replaced somewhat shortly, but currently you have crafted mana on there. And I do have anoints, chilling tower damage, and meteor towers create burning ground, just for some cheap anoints for when I do blighted maps. For the belt, to kind of round out the jewelry, have myself a high life, good regen, good mana, got some fire res on there, got high energy shield, and then I have a crafted lightning and chaos res. As soon as I get a similar belt to replace this with, I will try to corrupt this in order to get a good implicit, but the stun duration is fine since lightning damage has a high chance to stun anyway. Then going into my weapon, this is a kind of bad weapon. It's got some decent mana, decent spell damage, some attack speed, crafted crit chance. It's got a lot of stuff on it that's okay, but just okay, really. For the shield, I've got high life, got block chance, some spell suppress chance, and then have some resistances, crafted and otherwise. It's just a fairly low evasion shield, so I'd prefer to have that a little bit higher, or have a chance to block spells in place of the evasion to at least get more utility out of it. For the gloves, currently have life, some fire damage, some regen, and I'm converting my physical damage to lightning, which I do with this pair of gloves, along with physical to lightning support, and finally, of course, with the mastery, putting me at 105% of physical damage converted to lightning currently. I have currently spell suppress and attack speed on there. I don't have very high spell suppress, but possibility is that I take for the next 4 levels Inveterate and get lucky spell suppress, or I could get it on other pieces of gear such as helmet or the boots potentially in the future. However, these boots are pretty good. Triple resist, high life, movement speed, and mana. Currently have Fizz's extra chaos, not very useful, and increased damage per endurance charge, not very useful. Let's go ahead and see. I don't have that many currently, but I will try to re-roll these. Stun threshold. Okay, Fizz's extra lightning, that's excellent. And buff affected by Ice Golem is actually pretty good. I didn't even consider that, but I'm going to not take it currently. Avoid being stunned, that could be good. Avoid being shocked, I don't really need that. Chaos res, potentially that means I can't quite drop one of my chaos res. I suppose I can and be slightly under cap, but there you go. Potentially, maybe I just need a little bit higher roll on something. Or I need to put resistance catalysts, which would require me to do some ultimatum onto my rings, which both have, or this one has double chaos res, so I could get that. And that would allow me to instead, for instance, craft attack speed on my shield, which would be very powerful, or some other sort of damage source. Also on my belt, potentially. I then have a corrupted blood immunity, life flask, quicksilver, and silver flask for going fast. And they both have flash charges on crit. They're the only two that do those, so the cooldown is shared between them. Both when charges reached full. I haven't anointed my diamond flask to either hit a rare unique enemy or when flash charges reach full, so it's just being used when adjacent flasks are used. I suppose what I could do instead would be this, and that would go ahead and make it so that when I hit a unique enemy, if I have diamond flash charges, that would go. In fact, that seems like a good idea. It'll also just do it whenever my quicksilver reaches full now though. And as far as my defenses, I got 46 block. I'm super overcapped on LE resistances, so I can change that quickly. I have my life pool, my effective life pool is 3260 life and 2465 mana. So my mana is actually surpassing the kind of threshold for mind over matter. So it is possible that I will want to add some additional life, maybe Revenge of the Hunted. Maybe I just pick up some other nodes that are around here. This is a 6% life, so that might be more efficient. I could also consider going into melding. Those are some options, but I do have another decent life jewel, so I could actually next level go into this 2-slot jewel and put that on. Right here, this is a life jewel with projectile speed, projectile damage, and attack damage while holding a shield, so that could be a decent option as well. And then I could get out of temporarily this 8% mana node, and that would kind of add to my effective health pool. But my max hit is going to be something like close to 5,700 or so before mitigation and everything. Speaking of, I now have Shaper of Winter and Shaper of Flames, which I talked about, which are helping with that incredibly. I don't have much armor, so I'm not really going to be mitigating physical regardless, and I don't have much evasion currently either. So other than my block, which is 46, not super high, and spell block 14, I'm basically just relying on the mitigation mostly from Shaper of Winter, and just occasionally evading and blocking things. I have captured everything except Glace for Soul of the Brine King. I might want to do self-chill in the future, so I'm actually not going to capture Glace on purpose. And I've captured Soul of Aberath with Sumpter for the Burning Ground to help me with that. I currently have 111 out of 115 for my Atlas completion. And these are my current 3 trees. This is my Getting Maps tree. It has all of the shaping stuff. It has all of the Kirak mission stuff. And then I just have some bonus stuff like getting some Azurite with mining byproducts. So I have a bunch of the like Packed with Energy and Frantic Mining. And then I have all of the Strongbox stuff and a bunch of all of the Essence stuff pretty much too. So just Strongbox, Essence, some extra azurite and sulfite, and harbingers as well, which have paid off in a really big way. So I just get a bunch of bonus stuff while getting my map sustain and building up Kinetic missions, and that's my first setup. But I do not get scarabs on this tree because I'm using unwavering vision. I guess I could spec out of like essences or something in order to not have to take unwavering vision, and I might do that when I get some more orbs of unmaking. This is going to be my blue altar farming tree, which currently has expedition, and it has torment with refiner's bargain to get some free dust, and it has extreme archaeology with expedition as well, and also blight. It has all the blight stuff. I have blight and expedition, and then blue altars, and this is kind of going to be my slower one. This is just generically accumulates a lot of resources that I'm going to need. It's not a bad tree. And finally, I have this one here, which is currently ritual and beyond. And then I'm adding some scarab stuff. I have some more stuff to respec out of here to get potentially some more scarabs. But I have significant troves and amplified artifacts and remarkable relics, so at least I get some extra scarabs from uniques and rares. And then this is red altar farming for this one. So I got a red altar farming, a blue altar farming, and a lot of just generic stuff. I'll probably want to farm Legion at some point as well. So that is the overall update for everything that I have done so far. Hope you enjoyed. This has been Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming, and I'll see you next time. Bye.